Okay, I'm here with Darren, and we're going to talk about the advert/promotional video that we did recently. So can you explain the initial concept behind this idea?
Yeah, so basically we had this idea that we're going to shoot a promo for the return of Team Media. Team Media, we basically, to cut a long story short, we have a football team.
An amazing football team.
We are amazing, but a few injuries last year meant that we kind of dispersed, went our separate ways. But we're returning, and we want this big epic video to kind of go out there to intimidate everybody else. Not that we need to, because we know we're amazing, they know we're amazing, but we thought we'd do it anyway. So we came up with the idea. From there, we wrote the idea down, and then we got together in a small informal meeting just to discuss the idea, kind of, talk through different kind of shots we want to include, the different activities we wanted each player to perform. And from that, I went away and created a shot list that I then brought back.
So how long did that initial discussion take, do you reckon?
Well, we did it over at lunchtime. We got together half an hour. We talked about the basic concept. We said, this is what we want to include. And everyone said, well, what if you try this or try that, or I'd like to be doing this. So around half an hour we discussed ideas, and what was really important is we made a note of those ideas. It wasn't a discussion that we then went away and forgot about. We actually wrote it down.
We looked at a bit of inspiration as well. You sent me a couple of videos that you thought.
Yeah, so I think it's the World Cup at the moment. Well, it was the World Cup. Obviously finished on Sunday, but there was a few promotional videos that were going out around that time for the Brazil team, generally for the World Cup, and we also looked at some NBA promos.
So after the shot list, what came next?
So we had the basic shot list, brought that in, and then after we kind of had some ideas for some shots, we decided that we would have a test. We'd give it a go, test it out in the space to see if it worked, basically.
At least the tricky bit was getting the lighting right. We knew that lighting was going to be key, and we weren't sure how it was going to look in the gym or in the sports hall. So we had to really figure out which lights we were going to use, and we've only got a limited budget. We were thinking whether to go for this sort of low-key or chiaroscuro lighting, or to have backlighting and real stylistic elements. So here's a little tutorial about the lighting that we did. So what we've got here, we've got Jack, who's going to be in the football promo video, and he's going to be like the hard man at the end. We're trying to light him in the same way we've lit the other characters, with this sort of intense light. We've got the main lights on at the moment, so it looks very bright, but when we turn the main gym lights off, it'll be a lot darker. And you've got one key light and the one fill light, and all the background will be very dark, and it will just light Jack up. The fill light is taking off a little bit of shadow from this side, but the key light is much brighter and offering that really intense look, and he's going to look really tough and gruff. So this is now with the main lights of the gym turned off, so you can see the real intensity of the fill light and the key light there, and that's giving us our effect that we're looking for. Here you can probably see that we've actually turned the fill light off. We felt that one key light was actually a lot better, and the shadows on Jack's left-hand side make him seem much more intense. You can get a real sense from this shot about the changes that lighting can make. Here we've got all the gym lights up and our portable lights are turned off, and it looks pretty dull. But in this shot we've got our one key light, the gym lights are turned off, and it seems much more intense. And it's that dramatic effect that we were looking for. Okay, what we've got here, we've got Ross on the exercise bike, and we're trying to light him with our one key light up here, which is the red head, and we've got the cool light down here just to add a fill. And what we're trying to get is this low-key lighting effect again, trying to make this intense football promo, and Ross is supposed to look really intense, like he's training really hard. And for that extra measure, we've got Sophie, who's going to splash Ross with a bit of water for that bit of extra effect. The problem we're having when we're filming is that the background, we're getting a bit of spill onto the background. Obviously it's very light at the moment because we've got the main lights on, but to minimise that, we've turned the aperture right down, and we focus right in on Ross. So we've got Darren as our subject here, and we'll cut to a shot of, in fact we're going to use Ross when we actually do the advert, but just as an example, we've got Darren sitting there because Ross is behind the camera. And we've got one redhead here. We are using the work lights at the back there. They're both in shot, well, one's slightly out of shot, but lighting up the back of Darren just here, or Ross as it will be. And we've got a cool light just here. Okay, the cool light is offering a fill for the shadows on his face. The redhead is the key light that's delivering those shadows. But with the fill light, it just takes the edge off those shadows so that you haven't got too harsh shadows and you can see some definition in his face. That's the idea behind it. The reason we're using work lights is because we didn't have enough redheads. So it shows what you can do with very cheap lights. I think they're about 15 quid each. So that's the sort of thing you can do. So after the test shots, what came next?
Well, we sent the test shots out. So you edited it together, and we sent it out to kind of various colleagues to get some feedback, and that was really important to see, because it's easy to look at our own work and be overly critical, but also sometimes to kind of congratulate ourselves too much. So we sent it out, and the audience feedback was great. They were very positive. They were saying it looked very professional. So we decided that's a style that's going to work, especially within our time frame, because we then only had probably a couple of weeks to shoot this. So we went back to that initial shot list. We expanded on that. We put it into order, and within that there was some narrative, because initially we decided that we were going to include some narrative within the promo. That was our wish. From there, we organised ourselves and started filming it.
Yep. So what happened to the narrative then? What was the difficulty there?
We only had, I think, around 10 days at that point, and we had this idea, and it would have looked fantastic, but time was against us. We had limited use of the sports hall because of various events that would be taking place. So we had kind of hour blocks where we could work, and also I think one of the biggest obstacles was controlling the environment. So when you're working with narrative, obviously working outside, that's a bigger logistical task.
We can cut to a tutorial here about the lighting outside and how difficult that was. One of the problems you might have with filming outside is the light issues. You can see it's kind of low key, but it's high key at the same time. I've got loads of shadows in my face and everything's really bright. So trying to get some atmosphere with this sort of shot is very difficult. The other problems you're going to have if you're trying to record audio, you can probably tell I've got this big windshield on here, but you'll probably still be able to hear the wind, and it's quite tough. The other problem is that you can see the location. We've got all this stuff in the background which doesn't look great if you're trying to set up some sort of football promo. The other difficulty we're having actually is even focusing, because it's so bright, the reflection's hitting the screen and it's very difficult to get your focus right. The important thing to realise is that when you've got your idea, you can adapt it, you can change it. What did we do in that sense?
Okay, so we had our shot list. We had a limited time frame. I think it was around 2 weeks, 10 days left to film this, and we kind of thought about it logically. Lots of promos out there where they're shot primarily just in a sports hall where they can control the light. Some also contain some narrative, but I think we kind of looked at those and we thought, if you start pulling out just the narrative and have the narrative stand alone, wouldn't really make much sense as a sports promo, as a kind of return of team media promo. So we thought, okay, let's shoot the stuff in the sports hall first, and then worst case scenario, we run out of time, at least we've got something we can cut together and it would make sense. So we did that. We shot some in the sports hall. We also used the gym, which was next door, which again we could control the environment, control the light, and it so happens we did run out of time. But it meant that could be edited and turned into a promo that would be fit for purpose.
So when we were on set, did any changes occur there?
Yeah, we had the shot list, and I mean, I guess that's the beauty of having a shot list, because you're going in there with your plan. And the beauty of having a plan is that it's then very easy to kind of deviate and to go off on a branch in this direction, because you've always got that plan as a basis. So we had opportunities to explore and to be more creative on set, but that we were able to do that because we had that shot list. If you can imagine going in without that shot list, and trying to kind of, you know, create something. It'd be very difficult because you'd have 5 different people inputting ideas. You wouldn't really have something to refer back to. So, you know, you get those shots that you've planned, and then you can say, well, while we're here, let's try this out. Let's try that out. So that worked quite well.
Yeah. So there we have it, the importance of your shot list, the importance of getting test shots, and not being afraid to adapt your ideas. Thanks very much, Darren.
Well, thank you.